here and taking your time. I appreciate all of your time, and I appreciate you coming here, listening to me, and for probably 45 minutes, and I'm hoping that you get something from this seminar. Let's start. I'm going to talk about achieving true luxury. What's luxury means to you? Luxury means different to everybody. For example, luxury might mean high quality. Luxury might mean being unique. Sometimes luxury interferes to being elegant. And sometimes even simplicity could be luxury. Magnificent, and a lot of times actually we think luxury to be expensive, and we think luxury is being rich and having a lot of money, and we interfere that, we mix that with people to have a lot of money. We feel like, okay, that's a luxury lifestyle. Coco Chanel says some people think luxury is the opposite of poverty. It's not. It's the opposite of vulgarity, and I think that's very, very, very true. I'm going to talk about every client, to me, deserves luxury, and I'm going to explain what that means. To me, every client has a different expectation when it comes to luxury and different level of satisfaction. For example, if I'm having a regular lifestyle, and depends on where I lived, where I born, and my neighbor coming from different family, we won't have the same expectation when it comes to the luxury. We have different expectation. For me, that living in a house and just having a regular life, luxury might not be as complicated as someone that lives in, for example, a higher part of the city, British property, living, having like 4 different Ferrari in their house, and then going to Dubai for a couple times a year to travel. So we have a different expectation when it comes to luxury. Me as a designer, when I'm designing for a project, it's like to give the client that level of satisfaction, so the client feels pampered and feels that, okay, this is luxury service, this is luxury design. It's all about the connection between the client and the designer. And I think every client, no matter what, they can get luxury, and it's not about money. Quality versus quantity. This is very, very important in the industry. I know it's so hard to say no to business, and we never say no to any client, and we like to say yes to everyone. But you know what? Sometimes if you focus in one project and you make the best out of it, and you work hard on that project, and you work on the quality and detail of that project, that's what makes it really luxury. When you stretch yourself too far to say yes to a lot of people, you're taking out from the quality of the job. Then the clients become a number, and that is a problem. When you're looking at the project and the problem, it's becoming, you're looking at the client and you're looking at only the numbers, then you're really sacrificing the quality of the job. And I think that is definitely one of the points that you lose the luxury of the jobs. Craftsmanship matters. By the way, the picture that you see on all these slides are the pictures that we have done in our jobs, and it's part of basically my design and my construction firms. So if you see anything here, it's not copyright, it's really our projects. Craftsmanship matters. Usually in designer work, we have 3 levels of standards. For millwork design, for example, we have economy grade, then we have custom grade, and we have premium grade. When you're working in houses that they're not very, very expensive, and the area is not very expensive in general, you always can mix these grades together. For example, I can have custom grade and economy grade mixed together. And what that means, for example, if you do economy grade, everything needs to be standard. For like the size of the cabinet is the standard size of the cabinet. when you're working with a custom, you can customize the size of the cabinet a little bit, but then you use a little bit higher quality. But at the same time, you cannot really customize it so much because the price goes up. When you're working with premium grade in the industry, and then you're specifying as a designer, I want premium grade, which to us means luxury, that means everything is custom. At the same time, it's really a high quality and premium product throughout the design. I have a problem, and my problem is, I look at the houses in a market, and I understand if the house of like selling for, I don't know, we don't probably have it here, but let's say for 5,000 square foot house selling for $500,000. We don't have it in Vancouver, by the way, because Vancouver is becoming a second luxury. It has the second luxury houses in the market right now, and the houses prices keep going higher and higher, and the clients are paying million dollars for these houses. And my problem is, when you're paying so much for those price, for the price of the house, and you're paying $1 million for those expensive houses, is it really high quality? Is the high quality? Is it built with the high quality even? I go to these different houses and I look at, for example, the kitchen cabinets, and I see premium houses that they are all going in a market for $10 million, $16 million, and the back of the cabinet, or even inside the cabinet, melamine has been used. The back of the cabinet, the hardy board has been used. And honestly, I don't have any problem with having that in houses that they are not selling for that price, but the client won't know it. And when they're paying so much for those expensive houses, I expect they get what they're paying for. And I don't find that fair. When I talk with some builders or some construction, basically contractors, they tell me, oh, nobody sees it. It's at the back. It's attached to the wall. Nobody sees it. I've had a situation when there is a stone coming to the front of the house. This house was $16 million, so this is a true story. And then the house didn't, like the actual stone kind of stopped and didn't even turn a little bit on the side of the house. And the question was, nobody, like the answer to me and excuse was, nobody sees it. My question to them is, if nobody sees it, what else has been compromised? The foundation, the frame, the insulation. There is a lot of like component in the house that nobody sees it. So it's important when you're buying a house and you're choosing your designer or you're choosing your builder. I honestly think the premium brand and premium and luxury, you really need to understand what you're paying for, and you really need to add to your knowledge and at least get an advice. What they said when they wanted to introduce me, they said I don't really get satisfied very easy, and best is not enough for me, and that's really true. I'm super picky. This swimming pool has been designed by me, and in the basically in the sky that you see on top, I use fiber optic light, and I had I designed the sky, and we had somebody to paint it for us. The painting came in, the board gets installed, and I didn't like it. The sky looked so dark, the clouds were not even, it wasn't perfect. So I get the contractors to come back. They looked at the sky, and I told them it's not perfect, and they keep changing it, and they keep changing it. For about a week, really, this artist was working on this sky, and it came out perfect. I like it right now, but at the same time, it was actually very interesting because I couldn't stop him. Now he became a perfectionist. I would like, oh, you know what, stop, it's good enough. Like, I don't want to pay you anymore. I was like, no, let's fix this spot. So it's like, it's very interesting. If you be picky and you know what you're doing, just don't settle for anything rather than the best things that satisfy you and things you think you need to get basically deserve with the money that you're spending. I really have this advice for the designers, being innovative. And I know it's a very cliche, hey, wake up and become innovative tomorrow. And I know it's not going to happen in a day. But I tell you a story. I think in general, when designers want to start the design process, they need to know their client. And a lot of designers and firms, they have questionnaires that they goes to their client, and like questions like, where are you from, what do you like, what do you do, all those sort of a question. And the client sometimes fill it out, sometimes they're like sleeping at night and filling it out and giving it to you. I think knowing your client has to be a lot more in-depth. And I feel designers, other than being designers, they have to be psychologists. And really, I mean it. Like, I have to be psychologist, knowing my client first, and then start becoming a designer. And then when you decide to design your space, and you need to understand why the client have you there in the first place. What's the problem? When you find out what's the problem, then the questions are like, why for that problem starts. And I'm going to tell you a story so it's kind of like clear up what I'm talking about. There is a building that is old and has a very old elevator, and this elevator takes forever and ever to come down. People start complaining about this elevator that is too slow and it takes forever for them to go up. And they keep complaining and complaining, and they have us there, they're like, oh, this elevator is too slow, we won't be able to change it, we don't have enough money to change the whole elevator and the system. What else we could do? If you look at the problem, the first thing comes to your mind is like, the elevator is slow. But if you look at it a different way, it's like, yes, the elevator is slow, but the real problem is the clients getting bored. The people that they live in that building, they get bored. Now, why people get bored? You see what I'm saying? Ask question of why, starts with why. Your question needs to start with why. Why do people get bored? Because they have nothing else to do. They just standing there and waiting till they get to the 5th floor, 9th floor, 11th floor. So of course they get bored, right? So if they have something to do, then they won't get bored. So what else you can do? You just, like basically this situation, they just put a mirror inside the elevator, then people start looking at themselves in the mirror. And honestly, right after that, there was no complaint anymore. That's called innovative thinking. It didn't need $1 million, it just needs thinking differently. It just like I call that design thinking and problem solving. You solve the problem, not really thinking about the problem. Hey, thank you. Okay, this was a scary one. I didn't want to put that on, but I did. It's about the client doesn't know what's right, okay? And if the clients are sitting here, I'm sorry, but that's really true. Okay, so the client doesn't know what's right. What that means? We as professional, we go to school, we study, and we live and we breathe design and construction. We know every day what product is out there, what service is out there, who are the new trades, what new is coming in, and then your mindset works different way because you have a lot of sources in your head. When your client comes to you with a design and they're asking for a design solution, then you're working in a different source rather than your client that's working in a different format. And if you ask your client, I think it's very important to separate these two. You really need to know your client, find out what's the problem, why you're there, and solve the problem with questions like why, it starts with why. but then guide your client. Because the client don't know the answer. The client know what they want, but they don't know how to achieve that. They might know what they like, but they don't know how to achieve it. And then what they like might not be the best for them. And you as a designer really need to tell them. And honestly, swear to God, yesterday I signed a contract to a guy that came to me after my presentation to him and all that. He signed my contract. He told me he went and he saw a designer. I'm not going to name anyone. And to be honest, I don't even know the name of this firm at all, like Imperfect. He told me he didn't go with that designer because that designer couldn't say no to their client. You need to be able to, not in a bad way, in actually a very good communication way, show your knowledge, and the client needs to get that they are benefiting from your advice. A lot of people lacking that, and I think that's super important. But it's all about the communication. Space planning. This is important, especially because the houses are expensive. I keep saying that. So we don't want to waste the space, and we want to make sure the spaces mean something to us. And everything that we use, every basically space planning we do, every square feet that we use in this space has been designed correctly, and it gives the client a new experience. This is whole another topic. This is whole another level of talking and going in depth, and I'm not going to go through it, but get somebody that knows what they're doing, and then definitely make sure that it's not wasting the space. At the same time, your space together function properly. I see this one missing, and if this is not there, I don't call the design luxury. The design is not luxury because the cabinets works are going together and the colors goes together. The design is luxury if there is a concept behind it, if there is a story behind it. If you don't have it, that design means nothing to me. I open the magazines and I'm looking at, sometimes, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of them are look-alike, a lot of them are the same, and people actually, a lot of my clients, they say, I'm tired of looking at these magazines because they're all the same and the same and the same information, the same space, it just looks slightly different. I think the design is important when you have a story, and I'm going to explain what that means. This is actually, I'm just going to explain this slide. It's my concept board for one of my new projects. This concept is giving you the mood of the space, is literally what that means to me, that what I put together. If you look, it's delicate. This design is delicate but strong. It has movement in it, but it is strong. As you can see, the ballerina, it's just does all the movement, but it's pretty strong in one leg, as well as this little piece, how delicate and narrow all these pieces are, but it goes and moves, and then that trees that can come out of the concrete, that shows how strong that could be the space. So that's a feeling. I want when people walk into my space, the space that I design, they have a feeling about what I wanted to achieve, and they get that feeling from the design. This is a coffee shop that we designed in Yaletown, and it's recently, and there's a story behind it. The owner of this coffee shop is Croissant, actually bakery sort of, and I call it coffee shop, bakery, and they are specialized in croissant. The client was so passionate about croissant that I never ever seen anyone to be so passionate about baking. He cared so much about the ingredient, how he put them together, what time, how long they need to stay, where is this product coming from, how he's going to put it together, and it takes 3-4 days for him to make the dough, and then 3-4 days for this dough to rest, and then it's honestly a science behind it. He actually offered me to teach me, and I said no because I'm not good at baking, but the concept, I decided to show his art. I liked to show what he was all about. I made this bakery to be open totally open concept. It's open kitchen. People can see what people doing inside basically the kitchen area and how they're making the croissant. And the lighting that I did on the ceiling, if you look how this girl is cutting the croissant dough, the croissant, she measures it. She has a ruler right here, and she measures every single one, and she make them triangle, and these triangles are mirroring each other. And I use that concept to be my lighting on the ceiling for the basically kitchen area. I use those triangle format in a modern way to show that basically the concept of the triangle and then making the croissant. So that has had a story behind it. This is a story behind another one of my designs, which I'm going to show you on the next slide. This client loved bird. He even went as far as like changing his window to be bird approved, and like birds won't hit the glass. And I kind of did a research, and then I found starlings are having a movement, and they move and they kind of go and they come back, and they have like the movement of these birds is not like go in a straight basically format. They kind of go in a round way and they come back and then they kind of go again. It's a very different, and a lot of scientists has been researching these birds actually. So that become my concept for a hallway for this client, and that's how I did it. This is a hallway, and it was a very boring hallway. Let me tell you, it was very, very boring. I changed the whole thing to show the movements of birds, and I use LED lights that are changing in color, but in that picture I wanted the blue that shows the sky, and the birds are white, so I showed the movement that's this birds like basically creating in this hallway. I also used a bunch of them, what you saw on the glass floor. I made the floor to be glass, and I showed the light that way. This basically is a hallway upstairs, and then down the stairs, this almost become a chandelier, almost like a light, future light for the downstairs, that I have a big aquarium on top. It came out beautiful, but it's not about being beautiful, guys. It's about having a story behind it. I think that's what's more important. That's what made this unique, and I think for me and for my client means something, and that's what makes it a little bit more luxury, a little things that you don't see in magazines and like things like the advertising groups that we see all the time. It's different. Does timeless design exist? Honestly, I'm tired of this sentence. I want timeless design. Do you really think timeless design exists? I don't think so. I don't think anything is timeless. Everything will get dated. Everything in the world get dated. Sometimes you go and we want to do reno, or we want to do a new build, and the client want to sell their house, and that's their word. I want timeless design. And usually when you get to the depth of that, the client mean I want something that is simple line, clean line, that most people like it, rather than having something being timeless. I remember like this is not actually very long time ago. Maple was in for cabinet, huge, like it was maple doors everywhere. Like if you look at your mom's or grandma's houses, a lot of cabinets were maple, and suddenly maple and all orangey tones become dated in just a second, and then whites come back. And then right now we are seeing the trend going again toward the warm. So the trends come and go, but they change. And I think it's important as a designer, you try the new trends and you bring your own and add it to them. And don't copy them. I don't think like trying a new trend is copying, but what I would love to see is the designers add their own theme into the new trend and just bring it up and do something new. The last thing is luxury design need to, like it has to conform with building code. And not a minimum building code. What I'm trying to say, building code and all laws and designed for the people to be safe. In general, we do minimum standard design for people to be safe, because we don't want people go even lower than the standard. So we want to put a standard and we say, okay, this is the minimum you can go. Don't go lower. You could go higher. A lot of people, they don't do that. A lot of like architectural and designer, they go on the minimum. I would really suggest when you're working on a luxury, step it up. And I don't know if you ever even sit down on a wheelchair or not, hopefully not, but I really tried. The minimum code for wheelchair users is 59 inches. They have to be able to turn in 59 inches. And I've seen a lot of hallways and radius that is designed for 59 inches. But really, like being specific, if you really sit down on it, you would see how long it takes for you to turn in 59 inches. So if you're designing a washroom or you're designing something for people that they're sitting on a wheelchair and they're wheelchair users, I really do suggest that you go and think about them and go a little higher. And accessibility for elderlies, start right now, like add them on. That just adds a little bit, like add a little bit of something to your design. I would love to thank you all for coming here. I appreciate all your time. If you have any question, I'm willing to answer, but I'm hoping that little seminar helped you to just learn something, and then you get my 2 words. Again, I would like to thank you all, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Any question?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? A lot of people are paring down. Do you have any thoughts about minimalism, or do you think that's up to the individual client?
I do agree on minimalism, and I don't say, oh, minimalism is bad and it's up to the individual client. What I feel really, the industry went, the product design or house design in general, I'm talking about minimalism. Like, for example, if you look at iPhones, or even like technology, or Apple users, if you notice everything becoming more simple and simple and simple, and that's how the trend's going. And I do agree that's what the trend's going, and I don't disagree with it, and I love it. What I feel is, if as a designer, you step it up, and this is what not Apple did, but a lot of companies they did. They design a product that there is up here, so simple, so clean, so nothing, it's so minimal, and then the market is right here. You're going a lot further than what you are really, and then that might not be pleasant to everyone. I do have a lot of minimalistic design as well in my project. I didn't bring them because this was a luxury design show, but I do believe in minimalistic design if designed properly. And then minimalistic doesn't mean that it's not comfortable. It has to feel comfortable, otherwise what's the point? You want it to do a minimalistic design, but you want it to be comfortable. That's what I would feel that is amazing. I'm hoping that I answered your question.